Hey everybody, how's it going and welcome to another video. This is another one of those videos, I don't know what to call it specifically, character highlight reel, where I go over specific characters and what's important about them or not. In this video, I'm going to be talking over 13 of the most unique characters in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and most of them changed the game forever and have mechanics that have never been repeated again. So let's jump into it. I hope you find it interesting. First character we're looking at is Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he is extremely unique and changed the game mainly because of Fracture. Fracture, when I started playing the game and I read it, it didn't immediately stand out to me how impactful this mechanic was, but it basically was the first thing in the game where you could completely take one character out of the battle pretty much. You can kill them while they're fractured, or you can let them sit there and pick apart everyone else, but you just keep one character just locked and held in a chokehold. I don't know how fracturing their knees does that. It should be more of like a chokehold move. But they just can't gain buffs, can't gain turn meter, can't attack, like can't basically do anything. So powerful that they eventually nerfed it against Galactic Legends because their precious Galactic Legends were getting shown up by Thrawn and company. And if you're using his leadership, you can basically keep them in that state forever because you get a special ability that's granted to everybody, and anytime a special is used, you're removing Thrawn's turn meter. I guess that's an ebb and flow because he loses his turn meter, his speed. And you might say this has been repeated now, and yes, it has. Leia does have Fracture, but it's a little bit different because as soon as her turn's gone, the Fracture falls off everybody. And it might have been, I don't know, they may have not even got a turn by the time she goes again because she's so fast. This is just specifically picking out one character, keeping them locked down forever, which you could be pretty creative with, and people still are. It's just limited application. There's not, aside from Galactic Legends, there aren't many characters that you need to specifically hold down that character for a long time with. So he lost his stat, but also, you know, swapping turn meter and dispelling. Like, he was getting around to his turns really fast. He's also got a capital ship, so he's just an awesome character all around, but that Fracture really changed the game. Next up, we got Han Solo, the guy that shot first, and the first ever raid reward character. It would be nice if we got raid reward characters again, but at this pace, probably get drowned in them pretty quickly, more than kind of like Conquest characters. But Raid Han was really unique. I mean, he got reworks as it came out, so he's in his final form now, but wasn't as it came out. But the shooting first and stunning someone, ignoring taunt during that first turn, is a complete game changer, and it is timeless. It has impact even today, and Han being an integral part of the so-called Toxic Leia team, where you're getting an extra bonus turn, but he doesn't need a datacron for it. It's just he's the real deal. He has it all the time, stun someone, and he's amazing altogether. Tons of damage, cycles through his turns so fast with getting turn meter here. He gives himself some turn meter here. He is just a gunslinger, like in every sense of the word. Just a really awesome character. That shooting first has not been brought back. I mean, we have some in limited capacity, like Hondo in Grand Arena and Wat Tambor, but he doesn't really stun people. But yeah, Han Solo changed the game and is still an amazing character to this day. Next up, we got Jedi Knight Revan, and I personally was not playing the game at his release, but I watched a ton of videos from around that time, and people were upset when Jedi Knight Revan came out. The entirety of his being changed the game. His entire kit, this was the longest kit to date, I'm pretty sure. Not today, but like when he was released, it was the most complex kit ever. But really, some of the things that he does that are so unique and not repeated. One, direct focus. I mean, this has been so integral to me this season. Marking down Leia, just making sure, picking a target, and everyone zone in on that character. This didn't get nerfed against Galactic Legends or anything, so it's still super strong. All the allies assist. I mean, they do a little bit less damage, 50% less damage. But stun, mark, buff immunity, locked buff immunity, and mark are so enduring in their use. And other mechanics for him that were very unique. Savior. Like whenever we have an ability, there are other abilities that kind of mimic this, where you bring someone back when they fall low. We say, oh, they proc the Savior ability. And this all goes back to Jedi Knight Revan. Some people might not even know that when they hear Savior talking. They're like, oh, that's Jedi Knight Revan. But yeah, when someone would have been defeated, unless it's like Nihilus or something, they recover all their health and protection and get a bonus from crit immunity. That was crazy back then. It's crazy now, and it's super important. I mean, if he's in the lead, he can save himself. A lot of times, I'm not using Giant Rev in lead anymore, but it's still amazing. He's a Swiss Army knife, passes, turns around, cleanses everybody. Just an awesome character all around, and definitely a game changer. Next up, we got Emphys Nest, and this character was a menace when she came out, and for the longest time. We're now kind of to a point where people aren't as scared of Nest, and we don't really have teams that Nest can solo anymore. But Nest changed the game in that she had essentially infinite hit points. Stacking bonus protection is such a broken mechanic, especially when the amount it increases an additional 40% each time. So it's the first time she hit 40% bonus protection, second time 80% bonus protection, third time 120% bonus protection. That's why after several hits before she takes a turn, you are not going to kill her without an Annihilate. It is insane. In fact, they had to bake into Giant Revan's kit anti-Nest mechanics where her max health gets reduced. But the fact that she had counter chance too, people just load her up with tenacity so she couldn't get stunned or anything, and she'd pick the team apart. Unavoidable basic and dispelling. It was cool. Like, there was just no way around it sometimes. She was just inevitable, kind of like Thanos. Again, like I said, not as big anymore. People use health mods a lot of times instead of tenacity mods. And she's not a solo machine anymore, but she is a really interesting monkey wrench you could throw in the works on pretty much any team and get some stops. If they have a lot of Terminator removal, plenty of people have timed out on this before with CLS. So she really changed things around. Bringing out the big guns now, we got Darth Malik. And he's still an amazing character today. I put him in the top 10 non-GLs. But when he came out, he was the best character in the game for a long time, just because he punished you so much just for touching him. Gnawing Terror, he was an absolute terror, like inflicting fear on anyone for hitting him. So hard to get around. Damage over time didn't come into play as much, but whenever he got critically hit, you got feared. If you had swarm attacks, just a little bit of hits, you needed massive damage to get him down. And you needed non-crits if possible, and the amount of durability he stacks, like the less health he has, the harder it was to kill him. And also unique, I think, was losing all his protection and getting that much max health. Yes, Nihilist lead enthusiasts will highlight that, but Nihilist lead was nothing like this. He was immune to reduced damage health effects, so you do not worry about dots. Nihilist, you're gonna melt from dots. But there was no easy way around him. It was just Nihilist, basically. Either you had your own Giant Darth Revan team, very specific counter with a Jedi Knight Revan team. I heard some people could do it with CLS, but he was such a crazy game changer. Doesn't do too much damage with his basic or just from straight out damage, but sucking out 100% of the enemy's max health was also very fearsome. But really just the fear and the all health pool and just how he was so difficult to bring down. It was basically a prototypical Galactic Legend, like kind of a prototype for them. But yeah, he really switched things up. Now for another 2019 alumnus, we got Geonosian Brute Alpha. And there's a few things really unique about Geonosian Brute Alpha and things that have never been repeated again. GBA brought in the idea of a summon character, and if you had the Zeta on it is unique, you just start out with another character there. So he's starting out with a 6-character team, and there are no restrictions on factions. So it didn't say you have to have all Geonosian allies. So that's why you still see to this day people using GBA as an expendable tank, because you just bring them back over and over again. Like as soon as they get annihilated, taken out, you could just bring the Brute back. He also changed the game with he was one of the first, Zareth would say, turd polishers, where he took a bunch of garbage characters, the Geonosians, never really used for anything before except Poggle's lead sometimes, and they just became amazing. I mean, he juiced them up to an extreme degree, plus 15,000 max health and protection. You don't usually see callouts to specific figures, so they could be Gear 1, Level 1, and they still have that, like 30,000 hit points. The swarming attacks out of turn, like there's a lot of teams like that now. Mon Mothma, like just swarm attacks. It's like there's some Jedi Master Kenobi feels like a swarm attack team sometimes. So there are others imitations there, but there's no double character summon right off the bat. He's 2 characters basically, and that is highly unique. Next up is an old favorite of mine, Jolee Bindo. This is the 2nd character I ever put relics on in September 2019, right after they were released. It was Yoda, then Jolee. And when Jolee came out, His Zeta was just so busted. It just seemed like ridiculous. How is this even in the game? Revive all defeated Jedi allies and then give crit immunity for 5 turns? Like, what is granted for 5 turns? So they come back, and usually if you're under Janet Revan, you're going to be able to pick up the pieces from there. There's a lot of protection recovery on that team. But even under Bastila, his health pool was crazy. So it generated a lot of protection up. And as long as he stayed alive, you were going to make something work. On offense, this was particularly helpful if they didn't know to go all in on him, especially since it was hard to stop him. He had so much tenacity, plus 100% tenacity, so much critical avoidance. Crit avoidance equal to half his tenacity. So like mine, I'm not even trying too hard. This plus the ability, 200% tenacity, 100% crit avoidance. He was a bear to take down. He was just so fat, even though he's pretty in shape for an old guy. But I mean, he wasn't a damage dealer. He was just a healer, and he revived the whole team. I remember reading old message boards. People were so frustrated calling him like a necromancer or something. It was kind of funny. And yeah, there's people like Old Daka. There's a lot more revives in the game now than there used to be, and there's a lot of ways to get around Jolie. But when he came in with that, nicest restore in the game, but just bringing the whole team back, there's no questions asked, 4 revives, it really changed the game, and it was a really fun and powerful mechanic. On deck, we got the Lord of Hunger himself, Darth Nihilus, and he was the first character in the game with an Annihilate ability, and we have several now, so it's not unique anymore, but when it came in, it definitely was a game changer. He changed how the whole game worked. People thought he was broken. Like, it's a natural thing in the cycle of Galaxy of Heroes when a character comes out and you think, this guy's busted, what are they doing? Like, he's OP. But, I mean, he's pretty balanced, actually. I mean, cooldown of 8. He gets there quickly by using Drain Force, but he was so powerful to begin with. Increasing cooldowns as a means to get to his insta-kill, just so amazing. And he's, another thing that's pretty unique about him, even now, is he stacks his max health. He can get infinite health. Like, it caps out at a certain point, I'm pretty sure. But back when Traya got her Omicron and you'd run like Traya against and Nihilus against Lord Vader before they turned it off against Darkseid Galactic Legends, Nihilus would just hang in there as a champ. Like, he would never die because his health pool was so high from people getting debuffed. So that's another unique thing. So just the insta-kill and the stacking health, he really changed the game. And he also changed the game in a very mechanical way, in that he made them bring in Stargates for Gear 12. Don't you notice it's kind of weird that there's no gate on Gear for any stars up to Gear 11. And then Gear 12, you need to be 7 stars. That's because Nihilus, you didn't really care if he had more stars. It was just no incentive. He was just amazing. As soon as you unlocked him, 3-star from a marquee event, he was going to mess some people up. He was just so good. So after that, they changed things, and you need 7 stars to get Gear 12. And that's one of the biggest selling points in the game now. Biggest bottlenecks, biggest money makers on whales from new characters. And we have Nihilus to thank for all that. Next up, we have another Sith Lord, Darth Vader himself. A day 1 character, got several reworks. I don't know how many, might have just been 2. But the most unique game-breaking thing about him was Merciless Massacre. He was already pretty nice under a Palpatine lead, but this just was unprecedented. I remember when this came out, summer 2020, I'm pretty sure, and I thought I was reading something wrong. I was like, he's gonna take 5, 6, 7, 8 turns in a row. Like, if you start him under Palpatine lead, he got a bonus turn, extra turn for Force Crush. Then he goes into Merciless Massacre, that's 2 turns. He attacks 5 people, it's another 5, so that's 7. And then he gets an extra one at the end of the massacre. And if he chucks the blade and then kills them, he gets even another turn, and you might get back to Force Crush. So it just blew my mind. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought I was reading something wrong, but it was absolutely true. And he's great now under like Lord Vader and sometimes on his own, but they really nerfed his damage output. Just it's under the hood. The damage multiplier of Culling Blade, it still says 50% more damage for each effect dispelled, but like the actual multiplier is much lower. So he used to be a Galactic Legend killer on his own, along with Thrawn or someone or whoever else. But they really massacred our boy here. But he really switched things up to a crazy degree. Still awesome, but not as much as he once was. But still, Merciless Massacre is a game-breaking technology in this game. This one might be a bit of a surprise amongst all the rest, but Java Scavenger is extremely unique and was definitely a game-changing character. Game-changing in kind of a meta standpoint, like outside the game, because CG saw a bug in Java Scavenger right after Geonosis Brood Alpha was out, and people were really worried about how it handled GBA. Go look for an old video with Arnold and Mobile Gamer geeking out about Jawas vs Geonosis Brood Alpha, because it was every time any character hit Jawa, all characters would have a chance to get a thermal detonator. So they would stack thermal detonators like crazy when it was supposed to be limited. However, and that was because of a bug. However, CG saw that bug and said, we actually kind of like that. So they updated the description of his ability to match the functionality of the bug. It was kind of cool. I mean, other than this, Jawas are a terrible faction. They have not had any reworks. And it's literally just they stay alive and then people get bombs for touching them. So it's kind of like Malik in that standpoint, where you're getting punished just for hitting them. That's all it is. I mean, the whole faction just revolves around this one ability. Without it, they're complete trash. But it is actually an overpowered ability. If they gave that to anyone else, it would be game-breaking. Getting close to the end here, we got Darth Treya. And Darth Treya changed the game in a couple of ways. One, Isolate was very unique. Still to this day, no one else has Isolate because it's extremely strong. One of those debuffs that was too strong and had to be nerfed against Galactic Legends because it was causing too much issues. You used to be able to use Treya as part of a Ray counter and maybe even a Supreme Ring counter. I'm not quite sure, but completely preventing buffs, positive effects out of turn, can't attack out of turn. It just really, it did exactly what it said. It isolated a character from the rest of the team. And while it wasn't like Fracture and that completely shut them down, combining Fracture and Isolate was kind of crazy. So that's unique in itself. And she changed the game just with that alone. However, she also changed the game a couple years ago with this Omicron. And there's plenty of characters that got Omicrons to revamp them up. But she's the only Journey Guide character that got a Grand Arena Omicron that completely changed a character that was built to be amazing without Omicrons and just completely turned that team around, like to an insane degree. Yeah, there's plenty of Journey Guide characters with Omicrons, especially GSC ones like Afra, Starkiller, but she is still the only one of these older classic Journey Guide characters that were built to be amazing without any Omicrons, and got an Omicron of her own. And it's so strong they had to turn it off against Darkside Galactic Legends because she was beating up on Lord Vader too much. So yeah, Treya, one of a kind. In our penultimate mention, we have Wat Tambor. Wat Tambor is truly a unique character. He is like Han Solo in that he gets a bonus turn at the beginning, but he is much different than Han Solo, considered a crazy powerful character because of his techs. So no one else just gets a turn and gives out a crazy strong tech that changes the course of the game, changes the course of the battle, the entire battle, even after Wat dies. So any of these are impactful. Before his nerf, Blast Tech weapon mod was completely busted. They ignored defense, and that's a huge difference. Anyone that's dealt with really high defense datacrons know how impactful defense can be. But this used to completely circumvent it. Still, Bactoid Shield Generator is very valuable, but he's not as good as he used to be. But still, with that Shield Generator and then the Med Pack, sometimes you can use him anywhere. I mean, use him with Light Side Team, Dark Side Team. You like barely don't even see him with Separatists unless people really are okay with sacrificing him to go with Eternal Emperor or Slicker or something. But yeah, he's a non-attacking character, which wasn't brand new. But yeah, he really changed things around. And I mean, you can actually annihilate teams with this. Like, I've seen it done in Galactic Challenges. Just triggering all dots at once, that is actually unique in itself, even though it's something people don't think about. If you have like Darth Vader lead and they have a million dots, he just pops this and all the dots activate at once and melt people. Pretty good for those kill 3 characters in 1 turn feats in Galactic Challenges. And last but certainly not least, we have Night Sister Zombie, and no one can accuse this character of not being one of a kind. She is basically immortal. She will come back over and over again as long as there's one other Night Sister out there. Endless Sword, here it is. And the revive can't be prevented. She's immune to Nihilus. Like, that is so strange. That is That is unreal. I mean, she can take hits from Annihilates from Nihilus, Mando all day, and she's just going to come back as long as they meet the conditions. And she also kind of broke the game when she came out because people were leaving her low gear because they didn't care if she died. She's gonna come back forever, and that just juices up your Night Sister team. So she changed the game in a lot of ways. Her basic and special aren't too important, but the fact that she just can't die unless other people have died is kind of crazy. It's really annoying in territory battle on Dathomir. You really, because they're always reviving, you really got to time things out. If you can't prevent their revives, Zombie would just never stop. She will never stop coming. It's like, it really is an endless horde. And that is something I don't think we will ever see added to the game again on another character. And if you're inclined to say Ben Solo, that is still different because those revives can be prevented. And he's kind of unique on his own, but it's not a topic of this video. I just thought some people might mention Ben Solo when I'm saying that this hasn't been repeated, but it really hasn't. So that is all 13 for this video. I know there are other unique characters in the game. Technically, every character is unique in some way or another, but these 13 really have mechanics that I don't think have been clearly repeated since and really changed the game. So if you have other suggestions for characters like this, for maybe a follow-up video, I'd love to hear them in the comments. But thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and sub, all of that stuff, and I'll see you guys later.